purpose of our meeting tonight is to increase your comfort talking to the young people you mentor about love, sex, values, and relationships, and to make sure you've got accurate information about teen pregnancy prevention and the most effective methods of contraception. So, there are only two ways to prevent teen pregnancy. Who knows what they are?
Not having sex.
Okay. Not having sex. And what's the other one?
Contraceptives, right?
Using a
birth
contraceptive
control.
method accurately and effectively and every single time. And that's the only way to prevent any kind of pregnancy, teen or otherwise. But what it takes for teenagers to make that decision is motivation. What are some of the things that motivate kids to make decisions about having a good future?
Money,
Incentives.
Yeah.
Tell me about money.
like getting a good job, having the time to go to school to get a good job to make money.
Okay. Money, having a goal for yourself, the time to go to school and everything. What are some other things that motivate kids?
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say like stability, being able to provide for themselves, you know.
Well, wanting to have stability, because most
Yeah.
teens can't provide for themselves, unfortunately.
Yeah.
They think they can. But planning for that. What are some other things that give kids motivation?
I was gonna say external, like fitting in either with their friends or like expectations of their family or parents.
That's very important, a sense of belonging, feeling connected to your school, your parents, whatever there is in your life that's to be connected. Yes, what are some other?
Relationships in general, so creating connections not only with schools and communities, but people, mentors, significant others, family, etc.
The number one protective factor when it comes to preventing teen pregnancy, and as you can imagine a lot of other problems, is a close caring relationship with a trustworthy adult. So as mentors, that's who you are. And even if you never say a word about teen pregnancy, or not being in a gang, or not shoplifting, or not using drugs, or not doing any of the things that get kids in trouble, that close caring relationship with you is a huge protective factor and can keep kids on the straight and narrow. So these little cards have the protective factors. Take as many as you want. We have 2 million of them. And give them to other people, because people always want to have really complicated things. Well, we have to improve self-esteem. We have to blah blah blah. Really, that isn't it. It's a sense of belonging, a plan for the future that doesn't include pregnancy, safe places to spend time with their friends, feeling connected to their schools, families, neighborhoods. Making a plan for the future, if you come back to that, but a close, caring relationship with a trustworthy adult. And guess what? School success from an early age. Because as you said, money and a plan and time, if you do well in school from kindergarten on, you're going to be more likely to think you can continue to do well in school. So all of those factors help kids to avoid pregnancy. As a mentor, your influence is tremendous. And you are in a great position to make sure the kids get the accurate information they need and know that there's somebody that they can turn to when they have questions. That maybe if they turn to someone else, they would either get blown off or told, that's none of your business. So, all right. Before we get started, let's come up with some house rules. What are the things you want everybody to do? How about not play with your phone? No, you come up with the house rules. I don't have to do it. What are the house rules?
Being quiet while the speaker is speaking.
Okay. What are some other ones?
Confidentiality.
Yes. Does anybody know who Tom Joyner is? He used to have this thing that says, what happens, I guess it's, well, no, it's not Tom Joyner, it's Vegas. What happens in Vegas stays.
That's a great quote. It's not some Joyner, it's Vegas.
Okay, confidentiality. But by the same token, you don't have to say anything you don't want to say. You don't have to reveal anything personal. What are some other house rules? Anybody? Okay, well, we've got these, so we'll just have 3. And if you, in the middle of it, decide you want to add one, just let me know. We'll put it up there. Okay, let me show you the agenda. We've got about an hour and a half, and so we've already Now we're gonna do the fun part, the introductions and the icebreaker. Then we'll look at where teens get their info, whether this is a credible source, I guess incredible, no, not a non-credible source. What you can do to prevent teen pregnancy, then we'll do an evaluation, and then we'll wrap up. So I want each and every one of you to reach into this little glad cup and take one of these. And don't say anything when you take it, just take it. And you can look at it, okay. But don't say anything yet. Once everyone gets one, here's what we're gonna do. We're going to look at your word, get comfortable with that word. I want you to be able to talk about what that word means, but also, when it's your turn, we'll say who you are, why you're here tonight, and not at gunpoint, that's not a valid reason. One word that describes what you were like as a teenager, and then tell the group what your word is. You can talk about it as if you were just discussing this with one of the young people you mentor. Tell them what the word means, and tell us about as much about the word as you can. So does everybody have one? Oh, we still have more. That's boy. Who wants to start? Who wants to start? Oh, dear. What do you have to say?
Yeah.
You got to say your name, why you're here, one word that describes you when you were a teenager, and then this word that you've got, you need to explain to us, what does it mean?
Okay. Well, I'll start.
And use it in a sentence, no, just explain it.
I feel like I have an easier one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's trade. My name is Nicole, and I'm here to learn more about how to coach mentors, about having these kind of conversations with mentees, and not be afraid to broach the topic.
One word
to describe me as a teenager. Oh gosh. I mean, I guess I would say sporty. Sports were my thing. That's all I did. I didn't really have any free time. It's a basketball and track, and that was my life as a teenager. And my word is abstinence.
What does that mean?
Abstinence is when you decide to refrain from having sex until marriage.
Is that what it means?
Refrain from having sex, period.
Okay, now what does it mean? What is having sex?
I thought I had the easy one. Having sex is engaging in sexual relations with a partner.
Okay. Sometimes kids will tell you they're not having sex.
Yeah.
Because they're not having penis to vagina sex. And they'll say, oh, well, we're not having sex because there are all those other wide range of options. So it's important if you talk to kids about abstinence and you say, well, it means you're not having sex. They're like, oh, yeah, I'm not having sex. And they could be having oral sex, they could be having anal sex, they could be having a whole range of, well, I guess they're not that many after that, but but you want to make sure, yeah, I was just thinking, you want to make sure you're really clear about what that means. Who wants to be next? And look, when you finish, you can put your word back, because we have to recycle. Who wants to be next? Everybody's going to have to do it. Yes,
Okay.
Walter.
So yeah, hi, my name's Walter. I'm a mentor coordinator with Best Kids. One word to just, why I'm here. So similar to Nicole's reason, I'd like to be able to coach mentors, especially as they're dealing with adolescents and kind of, especially if there's a gender difference between the mentor and the mentee, kind of pushing some of those awkward conversations. One word to describe me as a teenager, maybe brooding or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, and then my word is scrotum. And it is the skin-like pouch that houses the testicles on a mouth.
All right.
That's awesome.
Who wants to be next? And put your name, put your word back. Who wants to be next? Jennifer?
Okay, I'll go because I have a similar word. My name is Jennifer. I am here I don't really interact with the kids as much as almost everyone else in this room, so I guess I'm here for work, but I'm also really curious to see now as an adult what sort of information adults we're getting to pass on to kids, and how they sort of prep themselves. Because I know for some parents and other adults, like mentors, it's a topic that's just as uncomfortable for them to have.
It's even harder to talk about than money.
Yeah. What was the next thing? A word to describe me as a teenager. I was goody two-shoes. And my word is testicles. So part of the male reproductive organ, as Walter said, they're inside the scrotum and they hold the sperm, which connects with the egg to make a baby.
Okay. Let's put your word back in the cup. Who wants to be next?
I'll go next because my word is related.
There's a lot going on in that area.
I'm Margarita, and I'm a mentor to a 16-year-old who is now on her second boyfriend since I've met her 4 months ago.
That's pretty typical.
Yeah, yeah. The other one she had for a couple of years though, but anyway, and I was very serious as a teenager.
Okay.
And my word is semen, which is a fluid that is housed inside testicles on a male part of a reproductive organ that, in combining with an egg, creates a baby.
Okay. Now, are you here because your mentee has had 2 boyfriends in 4 months?
I'm here because my mentee is a teenager and I would like to figure out if she wants to talk about it, how I'd be the best person to talk to about this.
Okay, good. Now, who's next?
Well, I'll go next.
Marie.
Even though I don't have a male organ, so I'm breaking the pattern.
Oh.
I'm running out of time anyway.
You're on a roll.
One, I don't have a male organ. That sounded really strange. But I am a mentor to a lovely 14-year-old girl, and I'm here because I want to be ready if she can. I wouldn't, right now she doesn't talk to me that much, but I'm hoping one day she will. So I want to be ready to talk to her about these things, and also because, as Brenda knows, because I've known her forever, I'm very, I think this is like the most important issue in the world, so I wouldn't come even if I weren't a mentor if someone told me about it. So, let's see, okay, so I got, when I was in high school.
One word to describe yourself.
You know what's so funny? The last 3 all apply to me, but since I, and not sporty, but since I need a different one, I'm gonna do bookish, because I was very, very bookish, yeah. It's really interesting, yeah, that I was all of those last 3. But anyway, I have a lovely word, orgasm. So how do I describe that? It's the wonderful,
Like Meg Ryan did.
what did I say?
Meg Ryan did.
Oh, yeah, do exactly what Meg Ryan did.
It's a very, wonderful sensation, like a very, very good sensation that you get from various different types of sexual contact.
Okay. So, what is a synonym for orgasm?
Well, they say climax, is that?
that's
Yeah,
what-
right.
And kids might not call it that, but we won't go through the whole list of slang words for orgasm. Thank you, Marie. Let's see who's next.
I'll go next.
Andy.
So I'm Andy, and I'm here because I'm on staff with Best Kids, and I have a lot of mentors who I just have a lot of mentors, period. But definitely want to help them have these conversations when they come up, and just to be ready for that when the mentors want to talk about that, or when the mentees want to talk about it, I should say. As a teenager, I was a lot of things, but I think confused just comes to mind. I'm just
Weren't we all?
I was just very confused at times. And my word is condom. There are some on the table over here, and condom is used as a contraceptive, is put over the penis when engaging in sex to prevent semen from being transferred, so it's to prevent pregnancy.
Okay, and it also helps prevent disease.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a twofer.
Definitely.
Who wants to be next? Put your word back in the cup. Yes.
My name is Kathleen. I am on staff with Best Kids, and I am a mentor to a 12-year-old girl. So I'm here for 2 reasons. One is she's getting to the age where I imagine questions and things will come up. And also to be, like all the rest of our staff have said, except for able to kind of coach mentors through these things. As a teenager, I'm going to say I was shy. Overwhelmingly. And my word is period, which is a time usually within the 28-day cycle when a woman's body sheds uterine lining and unfertilized eggs with that.
Is it clear?
No, it looks like blood.
Okay. All right. I think I understand that. Where does it come out when it's
Comes
shedding?
out from the vagina.
Okay, good. Put your word in the cup. Who's next?
I'll go next.
All righty.
My name is Sharena. I'm on staff at Best Kids. I'm here because pretty much why everyone else is here. I want to learn more about this conversation so I can help mentors who are facing this. Also, I have too many nieces, and it'd be a great, help to talk with them about this when they get to that point, when they're 35. When I was a kid, oh my God, all those words. So I was gonna say introvert, which is kind of like shy. I think I'm gonna say awkward, because no one said awkward yet. Well, teenager, not kid, but yeah, I was awkward teenager.
And your
Still a little
word.
awkward. My word is clitoris, which I think is a type of flower. No, that's a stupid joke. So I guess I would describe this as like the region where that creates a intense sensation, maybe for some people, and that could be associated with an orgasm or climax type situation.
Is it a sensation of what?
Like I just said, orgasm or climax.
So pleasure now.
Oh yeah, sorry, pleasure. I guess, I don't know, some people, it could be painful. I don't know.
Okay. So it's part of the female.
Female reproductive system.
Mhm.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Who's next?
I'll go.
Yes, Julie.
Yes, so my name is Julie. I am here, I have a mentee who is almost 10. I don't anticipate having this conversation with him anytime soon, but I would be a deer in the headlights if I had to have it. That's why I'm here. And as a teen, I was probably studious. I was a number of those things, definitely awkward and all the others, but I'm gonna say studious. And my word is intercourse, and so I'm going to say vagina to penis sex.
Okay. And who's left? Okay, Danny.
I'm Danny. I interact with the youth in our program, police, out of everyone here, but I've actually yet to be to an ongoing training, and so this is an opportunity for me to understand the type of support services that we provide as an organization to our mentors. As a teenager, I would say late. I was kind of last kid, David Grossberg. Still not rocking too much facial hair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And my word is penis. It is the male reproductive organ, I would say.
Okay. Put your thing back. Who's got?
Lauren?
Okay.
My name is Lauren. I am here because I mentor a 13-year-old girl. I've actually sort of tried to talk to her a little bit about sex already, partly because from stalking her on Instagram, I could tell that it was the subject of a lot of discourse among her peers and sometimes a way to shame other people. And it went not horribly. I mean, a lot of these words also apply to me as a teen, so I will add maybe reserved.
Okay.
And my word is ejaculation, which for a while, if I had gotten in a little earlier, would have been kind of continuing. So ejaculation is the, I guess, physical process by which semen is expelled from the body through the penis,
Wow.
which is the mechanism by which pregnancy can happen during intercourse.
Okay. I think you would. All right. Oh, by
appreciate me. I am here because my mentee, he's 12, he just started middle school, and I know the conversations working in DC middle schools that they have.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that I'm getting, the correct information and guidance to inform him, because, it's like the line in the line. A word that describes me when I was in a teenager was probably excited.
Aw. Good, we have a bigger pattern.
And my word is uterus, and that is the womb of the woman where baby stays separated from.
Okay. Now who do we have left?
Smika.
Okay.
Okay, I guess I'll go. So, hi, I'm Smika. I'm a mentor to a 14-year-old girl. She's going to be 15 next month. I am here because on our second outing, she told me somebody asked to have sex with her, and it's a topic that actually comes up a lot organically in our conversation. We're already at that comfort level. So definitely want to be prepared how to talk about that, because I definitely wasn't talking about that at 14. So I will go for a word. I agree with most of those, but I will go with stress. Just worried about like fitting in or stress getting into college and that sort of thing. The word I have is genitals, so I will go with the general terminology for male or female, kind of meaning their sexual organs, usually referring to the external ones that you can see.
Very good. And last but not least.
Hi, I'm Barry. I actually work for the College Success Foundation, and we were supposed to have some of our mentors come, but I see that I didn't come. I'll just report back to them. And I think I'm here because I think this is a really important topic. I was actually just on the bus and I heard a bunch of kids talking about hooking up with a girl and what they were doing, and I was like, you have to treat her with respect. And it was just like making my blood boil, like how vulgar they were. And so I feel like a lot of times we talk to kids, but we don't talk about like the feelings behind it or the emotions behind it, and it's all very much like, I don't know. So I'm here to breach that and try to figure out what is the best way to have these conversations where I don't want to sound like your mother, but I want to make sure that you're safe and you're protected and you think of everything and not just one thing.
Very good. Now this chart, I've never known any teenager to ask me what a Van's deferens was.
Yeah.
But this chart is in case you need to know which things are where. It's the male internal and the external genitalia, sexual organs, and same for the female. Now somebody mentioned a 10-year-old who probably wasn't going to start talking about sex yet. Probably yeah. In the district, I think the average age from the start of menstruation is something like 9 or 10. And so you can bet if girls are getting a period at that age, boys know about it, and they have questions about it, and they're talking about it. Now, that's fine, and I think the more we can be normal when we have a conversation, the better off kids will be, because the last thing you want is for them, you don't want to give them more information than they need for whatever their simple question is, but you also want to give them enough information so that when they finish the conversation with you, they feel as if you've heard what they needed you to hear, and you've really heard what they were saying. So it's not just, what the words are, and a lot of them can be gross. Once upon a time we would do a sheet where we would list every slang term that you could think of for intercourse.
Oh, I heard that on the bus.
And every slang term for penis, and every slang term for vagina, and you could fill up both of those walls in the back with that. But then when you talk about how many words are there for arm, like 2, right? Appendage, ulna, whatever. Another one, there may be 3 then.
I said limb.
Limb, so maybe 3 words. That's because sex is so mysterious. And people are not taught when they're children the right names for their body parts. So they call them their pocketbooks, or they call them their weenies, or they call them a whole range of things, none of which make any sense, and none of which, if they have to go to a doctor to say what's going on with them, most doctors, pediatricians, of course, would know that, but we want kids to have accurate information, and we want them to know that whether it's your penis or your elbow, it's part of your body, and it's important for you to understand the function of it, and it's important for you to treat it with the courtesy and respect you want your body to be treated with, and make other people treated with courtesy and respect. That's the hard part, though, the courtesy and respect part, because unfortunately kids think, you know, it's okay to go and grab someone's breast or to swat somebody on the butt and keep going. Well, unfortunately, that is true. But with kids, you know, the repercussions can be so, they won't just get in trouble for sexual harassment. So we want to make sure we reinforce that message. Now this little cartoon, I need somebody to be the father, somebody to be the son. You get to be actors. Who wants to do it? Nobody said they were an actor. How about somebody who was goody two-shoes? She could be the father, and somebody else can be the son.
I could be the son.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes. Ready? Steady? Everybody got one?
No.
I think there's two.
Oh, are there any more?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's stuff down there, sorry.
Everybody have one?
We need one more. We need two more. We need three more. A couple. Oh, we need four more.
Oh, wait a second, do I have one?
Oh, Marie.
No.
Oh, no. You're good.
No, I just have one, but I can share.
Yeah.
We can
Because
share.
we're going to have a theatrical performance in just a moment. So you'll be able to not only read the words, but hear them. Oh, yeah, of course, okay.
Should I start?
Yes, please.
Son, now that you're starting high school and your body is changing, we need to have a little talk. You see, the urges you're probably having are perfectly natural. So I just want you to know that you're using protection.
Oh. Yeah, of course, Pop.
Phew, at least I know he has condoms.
Curses! How do you know I have a gun?
It's kind of corny, but, you know, it's, again, when you're talking to a teenager or, you know, a middle schooler or whoever it is, and they say one thing, and you may think it means something else, it's always important to have a check-in to say, well, what does that mean? And let them explain it to you rather than you give them the whole thing about, well, this is what it should mean. Because protection, in some people's minds, could mean a condom, or it could mean a gun. And that father probably would have been better off if he had asked his son, what kind of protection are you using? Because wouldn't he really like to know that the child had a gun? And not trust that the child was using knew what a condom was. So just always be able to listen more than you talk. And if a teenager says something to you that you're like, boing, always say, well, tell me more about that. What do you mean by that? And you may be surprised at what you hear. Marie's nodding because she knows that sometimes that's how you find out if a child has been abused, or you know how an adult has been inappropriate with a child, or you know how a child, wants to be in the Olympics. I mean, it could be anything, good or bad, but you always want the child to do most of the talking, and you to do most of the listening. All right, so everybody knows that teen pregnancy is a problem, right? Here you have a chart that shows you the number of teen births in the District of Columbia by ward since 2005. Now, the thing that's shocking about this, if you look at Ward 1, Ward 2, Ward 3, and Ward 4, and Ward 6, the numbers have dropped dramatically, sometimes more than half. If you look at Wards 5, 7, and 8, the decline hasn't been that great. In fact, right now, in this very moment, Wards 7 and 8 account for more than half of all teen births in the city. And if you add in the number of teen births in Ward 5, you get 71% of all the births to teens in the city. Now, teens probably won't find this that thrilling, but they might. They might say, oh yeah, there's always girls in my school that are pregnant. Or all I see is girls pushing baby carriages down the street. And you might want to say, well, what do you think about that? Because they may not think anything about it, or they may think it's terrible, or their sister may have a baby, or their mother may have been a teen parent. But it's a way to open a conversation, because teens may not know that if you have a baby, you're probably not going to be able to go to the prom. You're certainly not going to be able to go to the movies a lot. you're not going to have any free time, and you probably won't graduate from high school. Which doesn't mean that a baby isn't a wonderful blessing from God in the right circumstances. But when you're 14 or 15, but it's again, letting them talk, asking them what do they think about it, how do you feel about it? What would you want for your child? And it's amazing when you ask children what they want. It's all the things either they did have if they had that kind of life, or that they didn't have if they had that kind of life. Again, it's a way to start a conversation and a way to get them to open up and tell you what's really on their mind. So when you were young, who talked to you about sex? You can just holler out. You don't have to be so polite.
School?
School? Cousins?
Nobody.
Parents? Nobody?
Nobody.
Friend's older sister.
Friend's older sister? Okay, so not everybody's parents talk to you about love, sex, relationships, and values, right? Do you wish?
Yes.
What did they say, your older sister's friend?
I mean, this is when I was in first grade and she had most of the facts wrong, so.
Oh my goodness. And why did she take it upon herself to talk to you about sex when you were in first grade?
But she thought she was in like third grade and she
Oh,
thought she knew something. Yeah, that was probably bad.
Well, how did you learn about love, sex, relationships, and values if the third grader talking to you wasn't your sum total of information? How did you learn about it? Did you
I
have
think
help?
all of those are very different, love, sex, and values,
And relationships.
and relationships.
How did you learn about any one of them?
Well, in my case, I had a very advanced best friend who found out about everything way before me. And she was interested in boys way before me. And she I guess like one day she kind of like told me in very kind of hand to like doll type of terms. And I was like, wow, this is fascinating. I wonder if my mom knows.
I told her.
I came home and I was like, hey mom, did you know? And I did the same demo and my mom said, she was so horrified. She just wanted the floor to open up and just like, and she said, you know, I thought at that moment I could either have a kind of relationship where my kid comes to me with anything she wants, or I just shut her down and she never comes to me again. And so she made a decision to talk to me about it, and she always had.
That's a great story. I'm sure your mother would love to know that she made the right decision. And somebody else, where did you get your information? Yes.
My mom's always had a pretty open policy about it, like even when I was like 3 and I was like, where do babies come from? She explained it in very technical detail, so like, it was just never...
You were blind by that point.
yeah. So like, I don't know, it's never really a mystery, like I knew how everything worked, and I don't know, I hope to have the same relationship with my kid, just, you know, straightforward, not really like, oh, God forbid, you know, so.
Well, you made a very good, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna change. No, if you wanna comment on
No,
what
go
he said.
ahead.
Oh, okay. I did not have the parent thing. We had a pretty like rigorous like sex ed program in my public school, starting like in 5th grade with puberty, and then like learning about the other gender, and then like sex, and then like you know, contraceptives and stuff like that. So I think my parents felt that they didn't need to have that they signed the form, and they're like, someone else is having that awkward conversation with you, probably better informed and stuff. So, and then just informally from friends, but mostly in my mind, I think of the education part.
Jennifer?
My mom's a nurse, so we've also always had this conversation very openly. But one of my best friends was never talked to about it, aside from stuff that we learned in school. And so she would always call me and other friends who had more experience and ask us questions, even through college. And I want to add something that I haven't heard anyone say, which is pop culture and online. Like she would ask us, and then she would look things up, and then she would call us back again and be like, so. So I think a lot of kids today are also going online and referring to movies and stuff like that.
Marvin, you made a good point about love, sex, relationships, and values are very all different. The reason we're lumping them all together is because kids often, they don't bring the values part in, but they do lump the other stuff in. Young people, children, learn by looking. And so depending on what kind of relationship their parents have or the adults in their life have, they're going to start forming ideas about how men and women interact and how women should be treated and how men should be treated and, you know, what the relationship thing is all about. And that's the sad part, because so many kids don't grow up in a family with two parents who are loving and attentive and talk to each other and all that other stuff.
And some of our kids have been sexually abused, so their idea of any of this is completely convoluted and horrifying.
And so it's, you know, knowing that, you want to be especially careful to, when they talk, to let them talk and to hear what they're saying. Now, I don't know what sort of backup you have, but one of the things we always tell people that we work with is when you hear something from a child that exceeds your capacity to handle, you want to make sure that there's some kind of therapeutic resource available to you. And so I encourage you to be sure that that's the case. Because if a child develops a trusting relationship with you, they may tell you everything there is in the whole wide world that they need to tell somebody. It may be that you don't have the skill or the resources that you need to handle that issue, but the fact that they trust you enough to tell you means you have an obligation to find somebody who can help them with whatever it is. And so when you're working with children, and you never know which children, I mean, some you do know have been abused, others you don't know, and you may never know until they just one day say to you, however they decide to reveal it. So always make sure you've got that I guess Best Kids has a backup for you, so that you're not sort of caught flat-footed when you hear things that are bigger than your ability to handle. So what's some of the myths you heard about sex when you were growing up?
Get pregnant through your belly button.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say something along those lines.
What is
If you
it
sit on the toilet or something like that. I heard when I was,
A public bathroom?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
you get pregnant.
Yep, you can get pregnant.
What are some other myths?
You can't get pregnant now.
You can't get pregnant in a hot tub.
You can't get pregnant if you're in a period.
Can't get pregnant if you're on your period. All these are you can't get pregnant. It's like wishful thinking. What is you can't get pregnant the first time. Everybody's heard that one, right? What are some other ones? What are guys? What kind of myths do guys hear? Yes.
Less like masturbation. I just had a friend who misinformed me and was just wildly confused for a good month or two. I was just like, right? Just the concept of self-pleasure. It was pretty bad.
You'll grow hair in your mouth. Yeah, that one still hangs around. What are some other myths?
I had one, if you became pregnant, you could douche yourself with Mountain Dew.
Wow.
That's weird. And then like also the Mountain Dew thing with low sperm count.
Yellow 5, yeah.
Yeah. Lots of Mountain Dew.
Yeah, in the South it was Coca-Cola.
Yeah, just
you were supposed to shake up the bottle and then it started and it was going to make all your problems go away.
Yeah.
I know, it's kind of...
That's crazy.
Yeah, all the Mountain Dew is equally bad. Yeah. All that caffeine, who knows how jumpy you'd be afterwards. Okay, so where do you think teens are getting their information? Somebody mentioned the internet. You know, the internet has changed the entire world. Because there used to be things you couldn't find in the encyclopedia, you couldn't find in the dictionary, you'd go to the library, you couldn't really find a book that said, you know, what it was you were looking for. But now, you can find out anything. Not only can you find it out, you can see it. And wow. But what are some other places that kids get their info from besides internet?
Peers.
Peers? Okay.
There's TV.
Yeah, because there's cable and there's Netflix and there's everything. Cable, TV, internet, friends. What are some others?
Magazines.
Magazines?
Like every time they pick up what is it?
Maxim?
Yeah, or like even what's the big girl one? Like People or
Cosmo.
Cosmo. They have like what is it? Like 700 sex tips every issue.
Yeah. What are some other places besides magazines, internet, friends?
Video games.
Video games are sexual.
Oh my God, Grand Theft Auto, which is like a huge game. They have graphic sex in a lot of these video games. Oh my God, most video games.
Yeah, like even like hookers in your car. And
No, there are some that actually have like sex scenes and things like that in them, in like narrative parts. Yeah, it's weird.
And do they have like an RX on the front?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, like M rating, mature.
Yeah.
Wow. You see, I learned something every day. I wonder why people are so into video games. Okay, so what are some other places kids get their information?
Religious institutions, like religion, in a weird.
Unitarians, the Unitarian Church has a really good sexuality education curriculum called, I think, Our Whole Lives. I think that's in OWL. Yeah, I think it's the Unitarian Church. And they do a lot of, obviously, conversations about it. The Southern Baptists, believe it or not, have a curriculum around sexuality. It's much more of an abstinence focus, but they do have accurate information, and they talk about sex in the context of marriage, but still, you can get the accurate information. Most churches don't, though, however. And it's, you got them captive there for Sunday school or CCD or whatever, but it's a real missed opportunity. What are some other places kids get their information?
Their parents or caregivers, or people who come in out of the houses in the caregivers' homes.
Random individuals. Now, DC has a very odd health education program. Do the kids you mentor say that they're learning about sex in school and health education? No. That's because they're not. The Board of Education just adopted health standards April 20th, and so even though sexuality education has been mandated K through 12 in the district since probably 1971, it isn't really taught. So who was it that said you saw it, your parents signed it, and they figured it was all taken care of? Not so much in the district. So you may get a lot of the questions that if they had reproductive health education, they'd learn about it in school, and they're not. So you may be the only.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
We need to watch a birthday video. Don't remember that.
So, I don't know, we usually do a values clarification exercise right here, but I think you guys are all pretty modern. No, I mean, I don't, does anybody in here think that teens shouldn't have sex? No?
Honestly?
Yes, honestly.
Yes, I do. Do I believe that they won't? No, I don't.
Yeah.
And why do you think they shouldn't have sex? Now, we're stretching teen from 12 to 19.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I guess it's not so much, because a lot of them are children, and a lot of them they've been abused, and they don't have a clear sense of their value as human beings. And I think sex for adults is complicated enough, but I can't even imagine what it's like for the children, because they're children.
That is such an important point. Sex is complicated, and often adults think that teenagers are going to be much more mature about sex than any of us have ever been, and that they'll make much better decisions than any of us have ever made. And that's so unrealistic. I mean, they don't, teens are not known for being able to plan ahead. They're not really known for cause and effect kind of thinking, and they're really not known for delaying gratification.
No.
And so when and the thing that I always laugh about, one of my colleagues talks about male involvement in contraception, partners in prevention, and I always go, who talks to even an adult man about your birth control method? Really, seriously, okay, tell the truth. Maybe you talk to your husband about it, but any partner before that, is that a conversation everybody's had with their sweetie? What are we going to do to prevent pregnancy, dear? And he says, oh, well, I think we should go and get an IUD. No. Does that really happen that way? Or have I just had a very sheltered life?
Well, in past relationships, my partner and I, we have discussed, even in high school when I was sexually active.
Good for you.
Yeah, because my mom made sure that,
Because you were excited.
Enthusiasm to get people to talk about it.
Yeah, but yeah, she made sure that was an open conversation. Like when I was ready to have sex, I went to her and she made sure I was prepared.
Well, another mother who should be congratulated. So, should all send your mother a thank you note tonight. Now, a lot of times adults, in addition to expecting teenagers to be much more mature about sex than they are, will scoff when they say that they're in love.
Yeah.
And they'll go, oh, that's puppy love. You don't know what you're talking about. You're too young to be in love. And what do you think that does to the conversation?
Shuts it down.
Shuts it down because?
You're not taking them seriously. You're not giving them the benefit of the doubt. You're not believing in them. You're totally just writing them off.
Right. And, whatever age you are when you believe you're in love, there isn't like a litmus test that says, this is you're in love, and over here you're not in love. So if a teenager who's been with someone for a really long time, which could be like 3 weeks, says that we're really in love, then, tell me about that. What does that mean to you?
What does that make you feel like?
Yeah, what does that make you feel like? And you'll be surprised as you listen to the young person talk to you about it, what they think being in love means. And that may give you an opportunity to start a conversation about the values and a good, healthy relationship and how that looks. And, that sometimes being in love is wonderful and sometimes it doesn't last forever and sometimes it does. But you're still acknowledging that their feelings are legitimate and that they're not just some silliness that you don't know any better. We have some questions here to ask you about. I have some questions here to ask you about what prevents you from talking to teens, but I wanted to make sure if you had any questions about the chart and the 656 births to teens, and you see how that's dropped. Mm-hmm. The Department of Health produces this. They also produce a wonderful thing called a statistical note. If you want to know anything about pregnancy and pregnancy rates in the District of Columbia, which most people don't, but I love to know, it breaks it down by 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds. You can see how many births there are for each age. It also has adult women, and it has a breakdown by race and age. So you can just go on the Department of Health's website if you need to write a paper or use it for something like that.
I know in general that nationwide, children in foster care have much higher rates, probably like the highest rate of teen pregnancy of any specific group. I don't know, I remember CFSA had numbers at the hearing, but I guess that would be the only source of numbers. Do we know how many to foster?
Well, at one point, CFSA gave us the data.
Right, I remember that.
And they said that 76% of the children in foster care at that point, it was like 2009 or 2010, had been born into families that were started by teens. So, not only are they at high risk because they're in foster care, but their parents clearly were at high risk. And so it's, I'm not going to say it's a learned behavior, but if nobody ever said to you, how can maybe when you're a teenager is going to get in the way of you, whatever, going to college or having a future or whatever it is that the young person is holding dear, then you're not going to see that it's a problem. And so, you're right, kids in foster care, kids in the juvenile justice system, young people whose older sibling, or usually older sibling, are at high risk of becoming pregnant. So when people tell you, has anybody ever heard of a baby thinking over doll?
Oh, is this the one that cries? Yeah. Takes a lot of,
It can be a crack baby, it can have a baby with colic. There are people who say, well, if you let teenagers take home a bag of flour and they have to take care of it for a weekend, or you give them an egg to take home and they have to take care of it. Everybody tries it. Or these baby think it over dolls that will cry. You can program them and they'll cry or whatever. They'll never think about it. Well, that's not true, because when you live in a household where your sibling has a baby and that baby's a real live baby, it doesn't prevent you from getting pregnant, because the same problems that your sister or your brother was dealing with that led to becoming a parent at 15 or 16 are your problems, because you live in the same household. So, when your teenagers the young people you mentor talk to you, they might need to tell you about something else that's going on, not just with them, but with the rest of their family, and then that gives you a bigger context to understand why they're thinking that it's okay why anything is okay, because it may be something that they see often. All right, so now I want you to tell me if this is true, because you may not have any barriers, but what prevents you from talking to the teen you mentor about love, sex, relationships, and or values? You can pick any one of them. You don't have to talk to them about all of them, but what barriers prevent you from doing that? Somebody earlier said because you didn't think you knew enough. Okay, well, what else? So information, would that be a barrier?
It just hasn't come up, like with my mentee. She just graduated from high school, and a lot of times we've just talked about like college and
Which
your
is actually
future.
fun, yeah, right. But go on.
Right. But so it's like talking about college and where you want to go and what's your major and why do you want to do this and what are you looking forward to? And it's not been like, so tell me about your boyfriend, even though she has one. And I'm like, I want to meet him. But it doesn't really come.
Well, it doesn't always, but if it does, what are some other barriers? Information hasn't come up, yes, Danny?
I would say I was a camp counselor for many years, and I always had teenage boys, and we were lucky enough to have a great resource on staff, but we knew they were thinking things, but sometimes we didn't know what questions they had. And so we had to literally establish a forum and like a safe space for them to ask those questions, but you almost want to help, you're like, well, what are you thinking? There's no great way to like start that conversation. It can feel like there's no great way to start that conversation.
We did a series of focus groups a while back, and we did teen boys and teen girls and teen parents of all adults house. And the boys didn't know anything.
Nothing. Amazing how little they know.
I mean, they really, you'd say, well, what do you know about contraception? And they were like, what? And then you say, well, what do you know about pregnancy prevention? Huh? What do you know about protection? And then again, it was they knew about condoms, and some people knew about, well, there's a pill you can take, and it'll make you not be pregnant. And I'm thinking,
Even our own bodies, like there was
nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Amazing.
Why do I have this blister? Well, how often do you masturbate? Well, 3 or 4 times a day. Well, there you have it.
We were living in a cabin, like it was like, okay, a lot of things.
So, discomfort. What are some of the other barriers? Yes.
Well, I talk about all of those pretty much every time we hang out with each other, but some barriers would be, I don't know the current terminology. I always feel like I'm not hip enough. Like I was told that dating is now like hanging out with or going with, and I was like, oh, can you like it's talking to means dating. I was like, can you talk to multiple people? She was like, no. But also, I don't, like, not that we're supposed to give advice, but I don't really know what to say other than just talking about it. Like, I'm scared if she does have a direct question, I don't know how to answer it.
We used to do at some of our fundraising events, we'd have teens come and do a slang board because it was sort of a window into the world of what teenagers call things.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just, it wasn't sexual so much, it was just kind of general, like the talking to or the, can't even remember the words, but it was astonishing to me how they really do, they're really bilingual, they speak the language that, whatever it is, and then they speak teen talk, and it's so different, and if you don't know what they're talking about, you could just wander around. So whenever I hear a teenager say something, I go, I'm sorry, I know I'm not cool, I'm not here, but what does that mean?
Yeah.
And then they go, oh God, and then they'll tell you, and you're like, oh God.
I totally like let her make fun of me because I use it just as an entryway that really she's like revealing things to me but she thinks she's just educating me, but
yeah. And it's actually a good sort of turnaround because she's the expert.
Yeah.
We always say that teens are the experts on their own lives because they are. And if you let them tell you about what life is like for them, even on that bus, maybe they had to have that profane conversation.
Maybe, but not on the bus.
Or not that loudly.
Oh God,
yeah. And the bus drivers are all deaf, they won't say
Oh, for
anything.
sure. And everybody around me seemed to be deaf, and I was just sitting there and I was like,
cringing.
Let's go faster, let's go faster, let's go faster. It was special.
What are some other barriers? Yes, Jennifer.
I would have a really hard time not passing judgment or like trying to impose my own values onto them because I know I kind of do that with my friends.
Well, it's important to know what your values are. That's why when I'm saying, who thinks teens shouldn't have sex? Who thinks teens can't fall and be in love? If you know yourself and you know that you tend to be judgmental, then it's an opportunity for you to grow. Because listening to a teenager, you have to go, ooh, I'm listening. Because believe it or not, they probably already know everything we're going to say. They want a chance to talk to somebody, and sometimes they'll hear themselves and what they're saying, and you can just ask questions. And you could start here and wind up in a much better place because they've had a chance to kind of process it as you talk. If somebody asks you a straightforward question like, what's the best birth control method? Well, that's a different thing. But, what about my boyfriend? Well, what about him? What's going on? Why are you asking? I'd like to know more. And he could be a real son of a bitch, but you won't know that until the teenager talks about it. And, you know, again, if it exceeds your ability to handle it, you need to have the backup. And we're gonna do a little role playing later on, and that'll be another place where you'll see. Yes, of course, everybody gets to be a thespian. Who can name 5 forms of birth control? In case someone should ask, 5 forms of birth control. We've already dealt with condoms. Let's 5, yes.
Birth control.
Oral, 5 forms of birth control.
Yeah, oral contraceptive. Yeah.
Birth control pills.
Pills.
All right.
Yeah, like oral.
Yeah, oral.
I guess it is kind of. Yeah, I guess that is kind of.
Birth control pills. What's another one?
The other one is the IUD.
IUD.
The IUD. That's 2.
Sponge?
People still make those always.
NuvaRing?
Yeah, the number ring.
NuvaRing.
Maybe.
That's technically IUD, right?
Diaphragm, okay.
The ring goes up.
Okay, we've got 3, IUD, diaphragm, birth control pills. All we need is 2 more.
We said.
Well, we said
Implants.
Oh, yeah.
Vasectomy?
Did you?
Well, vasectomy is birth control, as is a tubal ligation. And those are very effective. When you have your, when you get sterilized.
Did they still make the patch?
They do make the patch, and they make the NuvaRing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the ring, yeah.
According to Planned Parenthood, the sponge is back.
Wow.
Where did you get it?
At Planned Parenthood.
Oh, where did you get it?
But is it a
Yeah,
So, but if it's only available, is it only available by prescription?
Let me go back to the regular.
Okay. So, we're not going to touch your arm, but we do in here.
Oh, you can get it on Amazon.
No.
No prescription, 24-hour protection. Use it
Oh,
only
I don't
when you need it. Easy to insert cylinder tampon. 89 to 91% effective when used as directed. Seriously, you can buy it on Amazon.
So this handy dandy little birth control kit here,
It's only $11.
for how many, 3? Because $11.
Yeah, 3.
Oh, wow. Look at it. She's like different.
I mean, good to know, when you're talking here.
Yeah.
So somebody mentioned implants. You can touch this little implant here, and it's a very slender rod. It goes in your arm. You do your, like you do a breast exam.
It's like, I don't want to touch it anymore. It's like, I just don't want to be touched.
So the implant
Yeah, in your arm.
as a woman or?
Woman.
Oh, yeah, all the birth control methods except for condoms
Are for
are for women. And you can feel this, and it's virtually undetectable, but you can feel it if you really. Somebody mentioned diaphragms. This probably is the first one ever made, but it's in our birth control kit. And they're not as popular. They're not as popular as they were. Thank you, sorry you gotta go. This is a method no one mentioned. The female condom.
I didn't know because I thought it fell in the wrong.
Because it looks
Oh,
like
yeah.
a jellyfish. No, it's a very, it's a great method if someone wants to have full control of that experience, because it's inserted into your vagina and this part hangs down. There are people who do, and they are really
They were
thrilled.
passing them out at Pride Parade.
Yeah,
A few months after.
because it
They
gives,
said they were passing them out at Pride Parade.
it gives people a sense of control that is important for them, so there is a method.
Yeah.
I close that up for you because I don't want you to figure it out. Anne Marie mentioned IUDs. And this, if you have your little reproductive chart, IUD, this is a little string that hangs off. No, not that. It's inserted into the uterus. And because I'm sure you all want to see this, here's the way it's inserted. Are y'all grossed out?
It's like a crochet needle. Wait, what? We missed that. What is this?
An IUD.
Oh.
And here's the way, I don't think this has got one in it, it doesn't. It fell out. And here's the oral you were talking about, the birth control pill.
The oral pills.
And the condoms. Now, I'm not gonna make you do this.
Expired November 99.
That's why no one's using them.
Don't use these tonight, guys.
No one
We
tries
just
to
use them as a demo. Just
I think here's some people we already got.
Now, I did a training once at DC Superior Court for probation officers, most of whom are women, even though most of the people on the juvenile are teenage boys. And, you know, we had to take the condom out and roll it out and put it on your arm because boys always say, oh, I can't wear a condom because it's too tight. But you've all seen that demonstration, right?
Yeah, the 2-liter bottles.
Yeah, or you roll it up over your fist and up to the elbow. So I won't force you to do that today. Wow. It's always a really good demonstration.
Oh, I didn't know it.
Teens are always surprised. Or they're always surprised when they see that. But it doesn't hurt to, get practice at it because when a boy says, oh, I'm not gonna ever wear a condom or a rubber, because I just don't, it won't fit me. They all want to up back.
Get over yourself. No love, no love.
So what do you think you can do to promote these conversations? Somebody said it never comes up.
So that was actually my question.
Yes.
That was my question. So my dilemma is, if you're in a mentoring relationship, and if you're in a mentoring relationship for a long time, say 2 or 3 years, do you make it a point that you as the mentor bring it up at some point, or do you just wait till the mentee asks or talks about it?
Well, I think you have to be honest about your concern. Yes.
I think talking to the caregiver or parent is always the best first step.
It's always important to have parents involved. And if that's a situation where you can do that, then it's because the child may be talking to his or her parent and doesn't need to talk to you. But if you have a concern, like 3 boyfriends in 4 months, you can say, I just was wondering what was going on. And that's honest, and then the child gets to talk. But talk with them, not at them. So no time for lecturing, no time for being judgmental. Just have a conversation with them the way you would with anyone that you value and respect.
But how do you bring it up?
Well, you can say, I'm kind of worried because I know you're going to be going away to school in a few months, and I was wondering, had you thought about, what you're going to do to protect yourself from getting pregnant or causing a pregnancy or getting it, whatever it is. Or I know you're going to be going away, and I'm worried about you because, you've never had a boyfriend or a girlfriend. I just wondered if you wanted to talk about any of that. They may go, no, and then you have to think of another approach. But be honest that you care about this person. You want them to be successful. You want them to be happy. And you're concerned because, and you need to be clear with yourself, why are you concerned? It's not just because you want to know what's going on, but you may think that, you could be helpful or that whatever's going on with them may need, an adult's guidance and perspective. And you need to always talk about the future. I mean, the reason you want to talk about pregnancy prevention, obviously it's one-way ticket into poverty, but kids don't care about that. You want to talk about their future. What are your dreams? What are your plans? What do you want to do with your life? And then that's a way that you can, talk about why having a baby or causing a pregnancy at this point isn't a great idea, because that'll get in the way of what you want to do. I mean, whether you want to be a ballerina or an NBA star, if you've got a baby in the middle of your life at this age, those 2 things are going to be much less likely for you to accomplish. And then don't try to do it on the fly. You want to have time when you all are sitting down and you can have a conversation, and it's not like a hit and run talk, because it takes a while for people to kind of, to get comfortable. I mean, it would take any of us time for it. And you want to speak as if you know what you're talking about. But you also want to speak with compassion. Most of us do know what we're talking about. We may be afraid to admit it. But anybody here a teen parent? So you knew how not to be a teen parent. And you did that because you had a plan for your future.
And
You
also
had
because we were
goals.
awkward, serious.
Yes.
Obviously.
All right, so that's why you're not team parents. It had nothing to do with your ability.
Yeah, I just thought of the word I should have used. It was virginal.
Oh, that would have been perfect. But then the issue of promoting, these conversations, you don't want to bite off more than you can chew. You don't want to try to undo the whole history of sexism and, and all of that. You just want to talk about one little thing at a time. Because sometimes adults have the tendency to just go way too far when we talk to teenagers, because it's like we're going to have this one chance, so I need to tell them everything I know. Well, they probably don't want to hear that. They really want a chance to talk to you, and you want a chance to listen to them. And so don't make any assumptions. Ask questions. Don't interrogate. I mean, this is not, Guantanamo, but you want to ask questions that are open-ended, so that the young person has a chance to talk to you and not just a yes or no. And never say, are you having sex? That's really not the best place to start it. Most of all, remember what it was like when you were young. How did you feel when you were a teenager? And try to remember that in your conversation with the young people that you're talking to. So now you're going to get to pretend that you all are teenagers and grown-ups. I need some volunteers. Let's see. I need someone who wants to be a boy.
I want to be a boy. I've always wanted to be a boy.
Okay, so what you're going to do, I'm going to tell you what your scenario is. You're going to go with your team and you're going to work it out. And then you're going to come back, and this will be our stage. And you're going to perform for your peers. So I need someone who is a boy, and I need someone who's a mentor. So I need 3 people in this, because we're going to have 3 people, because we have enough for that. The boy you mentor tells you that a friend of his from school is pregnant. He doesn't say it's his girlfriend. He just says a friend of his. What do? So I need the boy. I need the mentor. Who's the mentor?
No one wants to mentor me. I'll mentor you.
All right, you can be the mentor, and maybe we should have the friend. Well, no, we'll just have the 2 of you. So go over there and work out your scenario. The girl you mentor is just crying a lot lately. She's just always so sad. And you ask her what's bothering her, and she tells you she thinks she's got an STD, but she doesn't know what to call it because she just describes the symptoms to you. And what do? She thinks she needs to get it checked out, but she doesn't know where to go. She doesn't know. She has to tell her parents, just blah, 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 blah. So let's have, this will be 2 girls and 1 mentor. 2 girls, who are the 2 girls? Volunteers. Jennifer, you be one of the girls. Marie, you be one of the girls.
Yep.
Svika, you want to be the mentor?
Not particularly.
Okay, Julie, you be the mentor.
I'd rather not, I'm sorry.
I'll be the mentor.
Okay, you guys go over here.
Like I'm looking down like
I am a counselor for many summers.
Okay,
The girl you mentor and her friend, they're always crying, they're always sad, they're always upset.
Hey, so Barry, normally you would be in front of me.
Well, I don't feel comfortable sitting in
It's
the
an
front.
She wants to be with her friend,
Yeah, I have to
obviously.
just look at you. So Barry, how did I'm not used to your having a friend with you.
I know, I just wanted her here today.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But I don't want to talk to her about it because I don't think I feel comfortable with her. I think you should talk to her.
What's up, Barry? Is there something you want?
No, I don't know how to
you.
tell you.
Oh. Tell me what's been going on this week.
I don't. It's not been good, Marie.
It's not been good. I'm sorry. Do you want to tell me about it?
No, not really.
Really, we're looking at the audience and the others. Well, I don't know, Barry. Let's see. Well, do you want to tell me about anything else? Like just something good that happened this week?
I don't think I can tell her that. She doesn't understand. She doesn't get me. Barry's been uncomfortable down there. I know, it's really bad.
Oh, I see. What? Okay, like what, like itching or
Like
hurting?
it's just not comfortable.
Okay. Okay, how long has that been going on?
I don't know, a few days.
Okay, have you told anyone about it?
No, that's so embarrassing. I couldn't do
Oh, but sweetie, you've got to go to a clinic,
that.
right?
No, I can't go there.
Well, I don't think it's going to get better by itself.
But why not? What if I just like drink some cranberry juice? I heard that works.
I don't think so.
No?
You know, if I were you, I would talk to your foster.
No way, I don't like her.
Well, who normally takes you to the doctor?
No one.
Well, I'm just not, I think somebody needs to know.
Well, who do you suggest, Marie?
Well, it's really your foster parents'
But
job. You know,
I don't trust her. I don't like her. I don't think she understands me. I don't want to talk to her.
Doesn't your social worker take you to the doctor?
Oh yeah, she's taking me.
Okay, well, I guess, well, do you want to just tell your social worker? I just hate for you to wait till Monday. I mean, it's Saturday, and.
I mean, I've been uncomfortable this long. What's another 2 days?
Yeah.
I told you it was gonna.
I would really feel more comfortable if you told your foster parents so that you could get to a clinic today, but I'm not going to, I don't think I'm going to tell her if you don't want me to. Would you feel more comfortable though if I told her or if we told her together?
Maybe if we told her together.
Oh, okay.
I just don't want her to judge me. I feel like she would judge me.
Well,
Okay, time.
Good job, good job.
All right. How did you feel during the role play? How did you think the conversation went?
yeah, I felt at a loss, like I didn't know what to do. I was like, I'm gonna call my supervisor, my mentor supervisor. Was like, Maria, you got this. Go ahead, you got it. right. You know, because I was thinking about how we didn't. Of course, this is about pregnancy and not STDs, but it made me realize how little I know about STDs. Although I think basically they do have to go to the doctor right away. So yeah.
So let's get some feedback from the audience. How do you think the conversation went? How did you feel about it?
Oh, go ahead.
Just
No,
talk, both of you.
I thought you did a good job in suggesting like that you go with her to talk to the foster parent. I thought that was good. She started to like feel like, okay, that's a good idea. Started to like relax a little bit.
I do think that Marie wasn't listening because numerous amount of times she said, I don't like her. She doesn't blah, blah, about her foster mom. So you're encouraging her to go to her foster mom, but she's clearly stating that her foster mom is not someone that she's comfortable going with. So in that case, and I think a lot of it was you talking to her and telling her what she should do. Okay. You could have been like, well, do you want to go with me? Like, can I take you to a clinic or blah, 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 blah. And that's something behind the scenes you can talk to a social worker about or something like that. But I think that it would have been good to just kind of just be mindful of what she was saying and just kind of figure out how you can be of help to her.
You know, it's funny,
she already
I wasn't sure if it would be appropriate for me to take her to a clinic. I just didn't know in terms of.
Well, in the District of Columbia, minors have certain rights. Among them are the right to seek care for sexually transmitted infections, abortion, drug treatment, substance abuse like smoking, all that, mental health services without parental
confidential.
consent.
Especially like I know Planned Parenthood, right?
It's legal for them to do that, but I'm wondering about sort of tension being created between the mentor and a caregiver, if that's done.
Well, that's why I said social worker. I would say social worker before caregiver because I've actually had this situation where a mentor wanted to take the mentee to the clinic. And once she told that to the social worker is like, oh, okay, that's a great idea. She does need to get birth control, but I'd actually rather be the one to take her. So that's how that was resolved.
Okay. I just imagine that there are a lot of different routes that would lead to either a caregiver or a mentee sort of resenting the mentor.
Well, and then you've got a child who's in pain and who could have gonorrhea, and she's got a boyfriend. You didn't ask about her boyfriend, but she, you know, we're assuming she contracted it from somewhere.
Or girlfriend, just saying.
Oh yeah, that's true. You're absolutely right. Boyfriend or girl from a partner. A partner. On a Saturday, you know, maybe she could go to a Unity Clinic or Mary Center or whatever's open.
Urgent care, I think.
But she'd have to pay for that.
Yeah,
Oh,
she has to
yeah.
have-
If she goes to a Title X funded, you know, where there's, the fee is a sliding scale.
All right.
Or I guess if she has
They all
Medicaid.
I was gonna say, they all have Medicaid, that's what I was
Yes,
gonna say.
Right.
Yeah.
And sexually transmitted disease, I mean, sexually transmitted infection care and treatment is usually a little bit faster than some other kinds of care. It's a good question though about the tension between the mentor and the mentee, I mean, the mentor and the caregiver. I don't know, I would try to come out on the side that you can involve the caregiver, but if the child clearly feels uncomfortable with her and doesn't trust her, you know, maybe children always distrust people, but she's got a clear and pressing need at this moment to get some care and some help for a problem, so.
Yeah.
I guess that you guys have regulations about this, talking to the social worker.
Yeah, that's what I always say, because sometimes the caregiver can be, they could have just been their caregiver for the last 2 weeks, or, you know, they're very transitional. So the social worker is someone that's really more consistent and knows a lot more about the history of the child and things like that. So I would always go to the social worker.
And that was why my friend brought that up.
Yeah.
Okay, good job.
So, how's everything going?
You know, Walter, it's going okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Just okay?
You know, just okay. I have a friend at school, and she's pregnant.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I don't know what to think about it. I feel like she's too young to be pregnant.
Why do you think that?
I don't know. Isn't getting pregnant? Isn't that for adults?
It does carry a lot of adult responsibilities, and there are a lot of financial commitments and time commitments that come with it. Is that why you think she's too young?
I don't know. I don't know if I know enough about the process. I feel like she's not ready. Is she ready to be pregnant?
Well, I don't know your friend personally, but what I would say is that
It's just a friend. It's just a friend.
Gotcha. I would say that getting pregnant younger definitely has a lot more difficulties, and if you want to have an easier time in life, it's best to take some reasonable measures to avoid early pregnancies in life. And
how did she get pregnant?
Well played.
A little awkward. I think there were some questions that I guess wasn't anticipating, and I guess having my sort of elevator pitch about that wasn't as, well rehearsed or took me a little
Do you
bit.
think you should have asked him who was his girlfriend?
I had a girlfriend, by the way.
But you don't know how she got pregnant.
And how does she know she's pregnant?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
I
does she
guess
have
more
to
the
be pregnant?
circumstances. Yeah.
Because, did she have a pregnancy test? Did she go to a clinic? Because that might elicit more from him about the status of their relationship. But I think it was good when you said that, it's difficult and adult responsibilities. What did you guys think about how they did it? About the role play, Jennifer?
I have two things. I think they did a really good job. But one thing is that maybe this is with older people, that people can have sex without being in a relationship. I think we keep using the term boyfriend and girlfriend and sort of assuming that there's that dynamic between the two people when that's not necessarily the case.
How well do you know her?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I did say just a friend.
Right.
And you reiterated that, which made you guilty.
That wasn't that I've been nervous.
Yeah.
But Jennifer, that's a good point. Somehow to get to the, how involved are you in this? Are you involved in this? Or something like that.
The other thing that I've been thinking this whole time, when you've said, we should do less of the talking and more of the listening, I remember hanging out with my cousin's two daughters a couple years ago when they were around the age of 10, and I was doing that with them, and at one point they called me on it, and they were like, why do you keep asking this question? They're like, you're not saying anything about yourself. So how do you find that balance without them feeling like you're sort of hovering and like trying to get all the details, or like only, you're not disclosing things about yourself, I guess. It's not a balanced relationship.
And to further your point, I was
that was my next point of conversation, was to say, well, when did you have sex? Did you ever get someone pregnant?
Well, we have somebody else doing that.
Oh, my.
Yeah, I also have two things. So, just to piggyback on what you just said is, I don't know, I've been working with youth and teenagers for a long time, and so like I always kind of do that, and I think that's part of what resonates with them, is I'm always talking about, not even, it doesn't have to be me either. I mean, frankly, I went to high school with a lot of girls who were having kids. Like in 10th grade, like most girls were on their second kid. So it's like, I know other people who were in that situation, so it's something I could have said, like, oh yeah, I know, I've known people who had kids when they're teenagers and blah, 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 just talk about that experience. So like, using that, if you have any personal experience, either with yourself or with other people that you've known, is always good, like, because it makes you look like a human being, for one, but then they always get more comfortable, and I always tell mentors that too, like, when you're talking with the kids, talk about yourself too, because that's what makes them talk about themselves. They're like, oh, you're talking about yourself too? I'm talking
And
about
most
myself.
people love to talk about themselves.
Exactly.
But your point, Jennifer, about too many questions. Like,
Yeah,
I got
don't do the
Uber
question
The other
thing.
day, and the
Yeah.
driver kept asking me all these things.
Yeah.
Like, where do you work and what do you do and how? And I was thinking, just drive the damn car.
Yeah.
That's my fault, is because I get in, and I'm like, what are you doing?
We're not here to
Should have a
develop a
button.
relationship. I just want to get here. But I think, if you ask a question and it elicits just a yes or no, then maybe you just talk about something else, the weather or something. Because you always, when you're talking to young people, want to have an open-ended question, not a question where they're going to feel like, I don't know, where they're going to feel like it's an interrogation. And you know how in a normal give and take conversation with other people, there are questions, but there's other stuff too. There's just kind of blah, blah. And I guess that's the part we often don't do with teenagers. We just, we've got our list, and we go down the list. And we don't make it a conversation, because the conversation isn't just them answering our questions. It's, the give and take. Did you have your hand up?
Oh, I was just gonna add more to observations. I know people are giving a lot of critiques and stuff. I would say from both the first one and the second one, I thought it was great. I know like it's a scenario and you knew what they were gonna talk about, but I thought it was great to like not be so surprised or shocked and not be judgmental. And then this is just an observation for myself and with my mentee, and just knowing this fact about communication is that people usually feel more comfortable talking about uncomfortable topics sitting side by side versus straight across. So I think it's great that we're doing demonstrations, and often, like, we always talk about the transportation time with mentees, or like if you ride the metro, that's actually a good time because it's not as intense as staring straight and
Right across the table.
Yeah.
And we didn't slam on the
Yeah.
Yeah, you're really
It's so
calm.
funny, yeah, next side by side is great, but behind you is like,
Yeah.
I love it. It was really
But
great.
I remember driving
Well,
with
the kids, right,
little
right,
league, and the two little boys in the back said Michael Jackson's gay. And I thought, should I just let this go? Because I'm not. And I said, well, what does that mean? And they told me, which, it wasn't exactly what you'd expect, but I thought, this is so interesting, because that wasn't a topic that just, Michael Jackson, first of all, didn't come up that often. It's certainly not Michael Jackson being gay, but it was, and they got to talk about it. And I thought, I didn't have anything to offer one way or the other, but it was just interesting to hear what little league boys were talking about at that point. So, good job. Yes.
I just wanted to say one thing. I think you guys did a really good job, but I know from
You can critique us, it's okay.
No. But like,
You're so gracious.
we deal with this a lot, where like our students will come to us and they'll say, I got a girl pregnant, and they want to talk about it, but then also like ask about the girl. Like, is she getting the help that she needs? Does she have somebody that she can talk to? Like, bring that person in, because as Walter's like the trusted adult, maybe he has resources where he could be helping her if there's nobody that she can speak with.
That's a good point. So there are two people in that situation, whether they're boyfriend and girlfriend, or just people that know each other. That's just what it's point.
She's just friends. I bet
Just
they're just friends.
That's a benefit.
All right, who's next?
How are you?
I am great.
So last weekend we didn't get to hang out. What happened with that?
I was my boyfriend.
Ooh, okay. Where'd you guys go?
I visited him on his college campus.
Oh, he's in college?
Yeah.
You know how old he is?
25.
Wow. Okay, how did you guys meet?
Well, we went down to visit my brother for his homecoming, and
For some.
yeah, they go to the same school.
Oh, okay. Does he know?
Well, not really, because you know, my brother is
Oh. But does he know your brother?
well, he know what?
Does he know him like?
Yeah, they're friends.
Oh, really?
They're like, they stayed in the same dorm last year, but this year my boyfriend lives off campus. So he's older.
Oh, so you went to visit him at his apartment? Oh, okay, cool. I mean, like, what do you guys end up doing? Like what?
You know, adult stuff.
Oh, okay. Is that like something that you guys usually do? Or?
Well, we just started. Yeah. He said when I turned 16 that it was okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So when you turned 16, and do you feel like you were ready at that point too?
Yeah, you know, because we're gonna get like married.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah.
All right. So what are his plans? When does he graduate?
I don't really know.
Oh, okay. So did you talk about getting married, or is that something that?
And then
you
we
just
talked
wanted to do?
about it together.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so when are you gonna get married? Can you still get school? Or are you gonna like wait till you?
Well, I just turned 16, so I'm gonna talk to my mom about it like in a couple months and see what she says.
Does she know about?
Well, nobody really knows yet because you know people don't understand.
Oh, they don't understand. Don't they understand?
We're like I'm young and he's older.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we're trying to keep it a secret, and then like boom.
Do you know why people kind of don't understand or may not understand why?
I don't
older
understand. Well,
genders?
I kind of do
What are some of the reasons? why?
because I'm young. I'm younger,
Okay.
but not young.
So what makes that wrong that you're younger and he's older?
Society.
You just think that.
Yeah. You know, if we were back in the 60s, it'd be fine.
Okay. Now, everybody was gonna talk about what before you found out that she was 16? Child sex abuse, right?
Yeah.
If you're 4 or more years older and the person is 15 or under, then you have to report because it's child sex abuse. But she made it clear that she was 16, so that isn't, it's not a crime. It's
It's not 25.
25.
He's 25.
That's
right. So it's child sex abuse earlier, right? And I probably still report.
I was gonna say, I'm still gonna report it.
Yeah. Now, she didn't think there was anything wrong with it because they were gonna get married.
Mm-hmm.
You had, what's somebody had their hand up?
I thought that was just statutory rape across the board. But
Well, in
25
DC, it's child sex abuse. You know, we don't have statutory
Okay.
rape anymore. We have
Okay.
child sex abuse.
Okay.
Boys or girls can be a victim. Statutory rape was more like a property crime than it was a
Gotcha. Yeah, that's true.
person crime.
But like so it's under 16 is the.
If you're 16 or under and the partner is 4 or more years older, then it's child sex abuse.
15 and he's 17. Right?
Well,
Isn't that,
that's not 4 or more years though.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, that's actually within the, I just thought 25 was like.
Well, 25, you gotta wonder, was he still in college?
Yeah, that sounds
25,
right.
first of all.
Well, if he had an apartment, see, she might have thought he was in college, but she said he had an apartment off campus. I'm like, God, he might not even be in college.
He might not
have
even be
told
in
me that.
college,
Yeah.
but he's, you know, if he's still in college and he's 25 and he's dating a high school girl.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
There's arrested development there. I mean, what is a man that age?
Or
wrong
maybe
with
he's
a
in
girl?
grad school.
But there's nothing illegal about that. 25 and 16.
That's what I thought because of the 4-year thing, but I don't know.
But the other
I get it.
partner's
She's
age
16,
has to
yeah.
be whatever it is or under. And then the
So I
other
thought it would be
partner
like
is
20,
4 or
if he
more
was
years
20.
older.
Well, maybe if he was 20, that would be okay, but not 25. But I don't know.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Because, yeah.
See, this is why I wouldn't tell anybody.
Yeah.
Good move. It's the ages of both
No,
partners.
you're right, I know. It's just like, that's a 9-year age difference though. To me.
No, I get
And
it.
she's under
Okay.
18.
I get it.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
the other part of the problem is if she was 17, then
Oh, it'd be totally.
well, it would be totally fine because it's still, most of us would think a person 25 is too old for somebody.
Oh, no, that's still
17.
terrible, but I mean, I guess I get confused about age of consent and then like, in that 4-year.
Well, in the district, you know, consent doesn't matter if you are under the age of,
What?
if you are,
I think in PA it's-
I never remember if it's 15 or under, I think
Yeah,
it's
I think
16 or
it's
under.
15 now. Okay,
From
some
15 or under, and he's about
Yeah.
4 or more, the other partner's 4 more years older. So she made it clear that she was 16, I thought that's
When they
what she
started
did.
having sex, and that's what she said. But if they've been together for a while, who knows when they really started? I don't know, but I believed her that she said they started when they were 16.
Okay, so how did you feel having this conversation together?
I don't know. My brain is always like, oh, this is so great, but I'm totally gonna report this afterwards. Like I was
in terms of safety, like he sounds like a creeper.
Yeah.
But also the fact that I think everything she was saying was really justified. The fact that she said, I don't tell anybody because I already know that there's like this social stigma, da, da, da. And I was like, that is so true. And that's kind of why I was like, so why do you think, that's why I asked her, like, why do you think they have that? Or why do you think adults think like that? And she's like, oh, because I'm younger. She still didn't even do it good. Because I'm younger, you know?
And you know, if you said to her, well, what does a man that age want with a girl
Yeah,
that age?
and that's kind of what I
And
need to get
you
to.
shut the whole conversation
Right. Yeah, I
down,
didn't
when it's a
want to say
legitimate
that.
question, and you have to figure out a way to ask it. Why isn't he dating people his own age?
And I also didn't want to do, that's what I was wanting to say, and I didn't want to because I didn't want her to be like, why are you judging? Like, you know, and I wanted to be neutral, but I really wanted to be like, well, what do you think, how do you think about that he's 25 and he wants you, and, but that just all sounds really terrible.
And it could have been, well, how does it feel not being able to tell anybody about it? You know, because usually if you don't tell people about something, it's because we know it's wrong, right? It's not because it's so wonderful we want to keep a secret in our hearts. We usually know this.
Seems like she
People just don't understand.
So, not a great little secret. So feedback from you guys, what do you think?
Great job. Yeah.
How would you, what would you have done differently?
Yeah. I would say, I think she did a really good job. I think that you asked enough questions to make what you feel comfortable about talking about the relationship. And then you said after you've had the conversation of feeling it out, learning a little bit more, then you can ask the questions to dig a little bit. And I think that in this situation, sharing your opinion, from my perspective, is a good thing, of course. But also, like you said, if it came to the point in this conversation somehow that you're you do feel like you have to report it, in the conversation with the mentee, I think it's more important to let the mentee know that that's about going to happen.
Yeah, I'm really concerned about this, and I just don't think it's, and I've got to report it.
Yeah.
Because, every adult is essentially mandatory reporter. And
so she doesn't
and
feel
she might be angry with you, and you might lose some ground, but you've got to do it. Yeah, got to do the right thing. So, thank you. Good job.
Oh,
The last group.
So, what's going on, guys? It looks like you have something on your mind, you're thinking about something.
So when you was my age, have you been with anybody?
What do you mean by with that?
Have you been with anybody?
Are you talking about sex?
Yeah. Whatever y'all call it.
What makes you ask?
I just wondered. Yeah.
Are your friends
I got
talking about it?
some friends at school talking about it, and I just wondered if it's normal for kids my age to start doing that. So that's why I just wondered how old you were when you were with somebody.
And how old are you
14.
14, okay. Do you think that 14, do you feel a 14-year-old enough? That's it?
I don't know. What about
I'm 11, I'm old enough. So you think it is, you feel comfortable?
Yeah, you ain't-
All my friends on Instagram are doing it.
What do you think about your friends on Instagram?
Yeah, your friends are doing it.
I don't know. I don't really think about it.
You don't really think about it? Do you think that, are there things on Instagram that you post about? I don't know. on Instagram that's about sex.
You know, my mom doesn't let me have her phone.
Oh, okay.
I just look at my friends' accounts and they're all crazy.
They're
They're
crazy.
inappropriate.
So you think it is appropriate at 11 to maybe? Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Well, back to the original question. When you were 14, you were a boyfriend?
Yeah, Miss Nicole.
At 14, I did have a boyfriend. I did have a boyfriend.
So what were you guys doing?
Yeah, well, good job.
Well, you guys twisted around on me, but it's okay. At 14, I did have a boyfriend. And at that age, I was not having sex. I didn't feel that I was ready.
When do you feel ready? How do you know you're ready?
That's a really good question. I think that, I think it is kind of a personal question. Not that I don't want to answer it, but just that everyone is different. Or maybe think you're ready.
Okay.
They don't know where to go.
Marlon Brando, this I thought that was a really good thing to say. At 14, I wasn't, because I wasn't ready. Now, that doesn't say that at 14 and a half, you know, she just 14 and a half. But that's a good answer. Now, you can always say, I don't want to talk about that. You know, and everyone always has the right to say, I don't want to talk about that. You know, your children, when you all have them and they're old enough, they'll say, they may ask you that, and you know, you're fully within your rights to say, I don't really think that's what we're talking about. Are you thinking about having sex? That's what really the conversation is, because obviously I've had sex, you're born. You know what I mean? Because even if they know when you started to have sex, what does that give them? What does that give a teenager? Useless information, because it doesn't in any way affect the decisions they make or the precautions they take or any of it. So it's always good to, you know, I thought the way you answered it was, how did you feel doing that? Did you feel weird?
I think I felt okay for the most part. The 11-year-old came in talking about Instagram, and then I got thrown.
And then she turned around. She said she didn't think it was appropriate. You let her keep talking, and she finally came back around and said, nah, I don't really think so. I don't really think so. And you were asking because you clearly needed some opportunity to talk about it. And she was giving you that opportunity, and you were trying to put her on the spot, and she kept turning it back to you. So I think that, you know, as a conversation, it's sort of like badminton.
And I did want that to come up, like I wanted that to be communicated, that what you said, that you don't have to talk about it if, you know, you have the right to say that. Because I think sometimes mentors would, a question like that would throw them off, like, oh, I should probably tell the truth, I shouldn't lie, like, you know, I should be upfront and honest, you know, so, but that's why I kind of brought up that.
Right, well, I was thinking that because when Nicole was taking a long time to answer, I thought the answer was yes and she didn't want to say it. So I think it's a harder position to be in if the answer is yes. I guess you would say be honest.
But no one ever has.
Oh, you could say
I mean, unless you've sworn an oath.
Right, right.
You know, you never have to say anything you don't want to say.
Right, right. So would it be better if it was, the answer was yes, it would be better to say I don't want to talk about rather than providing a role model?
Well, but what she said was when I was your age, I wasn't.
Right, which was good. But what I'm saying is, what if the answer had been I was, you know? So that's the harder one. Like, would I want to say it or would I want to just shut it
Well,
down?
I'd probably not want to say it.
Right, that's what I was
Nobody's.
That's what I was thinking.
You know, unless you're comfortable saying it,
Exactly.
it becomes like a teachable moment.
Yeah, like if you were 11, you might say, however that awful circumstance occurred, it might be a cautionary tale. If you were 19, it's a different kind of story. So, Jennifer.
Like somebody said in there, like, how do you know when you're ready? And I think it was volleyed back to the kids of like, well, when do you think you're ready? But I remember as a kid, like, really wanting an answer from an adult. Like, I have zero idea what it's supposed to look like or how it's supposed to feel. So like, I need you to tell me how I'm supposed to make that decision, not tell me when I'm going to make that decision or making that decision for me, but giving me some sort of guideline. Like my mom always said, like caregivers might say like wait until marriage, but like my mom always said like when you love somebody, like whenever that is for you, and you guys like decide together and are careful about it, blah blah blah. Like,
and I think those are all valid things. And sometimes if the person's age is such that, 13 or 14, a good question is, well, where would you have sex? And it would be, well, when their parents aren't at home. Well, isn't that kind of sneaky? I mean, you can keep talking about it, because at some point you've got to help them recognize that maybe they're not ready, because probably they're not in love, they're just curious.
yeah.
And it's okay to talk about it that way, but not diminish if they think they're in love. Because we always want to respect the fact that anybody of any age can have feelings that are like that. I think that though, how do you think you would feel when you're ready? You'd feel like this is somebody you care about. This is somebody you're going to take care of. You're going to keep them safe. Are you able to do that at this point? Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to add one more thing to what I said. Similar to the like, you don't have to be in a relationship to be having sex with someone. You also don't have to be in love with them to be having sex with them. Or like, some people think that I'm not.
Yeah, just that you care about.
But to like help them understand, like, are they emotionally ready to deal with it in the moment and to deal with it after the fact? And like, what if you have sex and that person leaves and never talks to you again? Like, how are you gonna feel?
Or what if you have sex and that person tells everybody in your school about it? I don't think it hurts to have best case, worst case.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't have thought about it. If people are posting it on Instagram, 11-year-old, then clearly there's no privacy around this. And that's worth talking about. Most people, maybe they want to be celebrities, I don't know.